Right, so now we're considering functions. We're looking at functions. In the last video, we considered how to perform arithmetic operation, and we saw at some point that we could have a large data set and want to do things fast. So functions gives us that flexibility to do them. Okay. So what are functions? Consider them predefined formulas that can be used to perform calculation, manipulate data, or logic tests. Right? You can use them to perform calculation, you can use them to manipulate, you can use them to carry out logic tests and conditional tests on your data using specific values called arguments in a structured order. Okay, so these are what functions are. And in simple breakdown, how do we write them? Start with the equal to sign. You type your function name, and then you pass in your arguments. Just as simple as that. Okay, you pass in your arguments. Now, what are arguments? Let's start with the word parameter first. For some functions, you have parameter. Parameter is just like when we have, let's say this is 6, and I say equals to this. Now, J4 can be seen as a parameter, while 6 can be seen as an argument. Okay, J4 can be seen as a parameter, 6 can be seen as an argument. J4 is the address, as it were, that means where the value 6 can be found, where it is saved. Okay, so J6 is the parameter, say like a container. It's called a variable where you can save something in. Okay, so the name you give to where you can save something, just like you have a locker where you can keep things inside. The locker is the parameter. The things you keep inside are the arguments. Okay, so that's the way it is here. So the values we pass into parameters are arguments. So most times you just say you pass in your arguments. I hope that's clear. Feel free to click this back again. Start with equal to, then a function name. You open a bracket, okay, then you pass in the arguments. So here's a breakdown that you can read. Breakdown of a function. Start with the equal to symbol, then you type the function name, e.g. sum. You open a bracket after the function name. So you've typed the equal to, you've typed the function name, and you have your bracket open. Then you pass in the necessary word, arguments. Then you close the brackets, cross-check your formula that it's correct, then you hit enter. Now, on number 4 that we have here, speaking of the necessary arguments, okay, you can see I have a follow-up note here. Now, one thing is important. Not all functions take arguments. We have some functions that do not take any arguments. Okay, so let's see one. Up here, I'm just going to write equals to today. And I close it. Now, this function does not take any arguments. Okay, one thing you should pay attention to is what we call the function screen tip. That's how you can know, you can tell if a function will take arguments or it won't. Okay, we'll come back to that. So that's today, no argument. It says not all arguments are required. That means the functions that take arguments does not necessarily mean we have to pass in all the arguments. So some function takes arguments, but not all the arguments are required. What does that mean? That means if I don't pass in some, the function will still work. Why? Because Excel provides default value. It does not necessarily mean we will like the values or the way Excel handles them for us, but they still will work. Okay, then we can now correct it. That no, this is not what I want. Then we can pass in the actual arguments. ourselves. And the third thing to know is optional arguments, right? Optional arguments are they're wrapped in square brackets, e.g., you see them in square brackets. So now let's go back to the function today again to explain some things properly. First thing, you start with equal to, right? You type the function name. Now, once you type the function name, the first function screen tip that will pop up is a description about what the function you just typed can do. So this says returns the current date formatted as a date. So if I should open the bracket and close it and hit enter, you'll be seeing today's date. Okay. So once I open the bracket, this description goes. The next thing I'll start seeing is the argument the function can take, or the arguments it can take. So let's open the brackets. The parentheses, the normal brackets we know. Immediately I open this, you can see that as Excel is showing me, it's saying just close. Nothing is between the brackets. I'll just close it. That means this does not take any argument. Okay, this doesn't take any argument. Now, let's see for sum. Sum, it says what? Adds all numbers in a range of cell. What is a range of cell? When I say A2 column D4, so I'm saying from column A2, A3, A4, B2, B3, B4, C2, C3, C4, D2, D3, D4. So that's A to what? To D4. So if I do this now, this is what? K3 to M6. All this place. So K2, K3, K4, K5, K6, L3, L4, L5, L6, M3, M4, M5, M6. So this will be K3 to M6, right? That is the range. So back to our sum. It says adds all numbers in a range of cell. Immediately I open the bracket. Boom, the description is gone. Now I'm seeing the arguments it can take. So it says number 1. That means I can pass the numbers one after the other, separating them with a comma. So arguments are separated with a comma. Okay, you separate arguments with a comma. As you can see here, argument 1, then a comma, argument 2, then another comma. So arguments are separated by a comma. So the first one, this can be a single value, maybe just A2, then comma D4, then comma B2, then comma all the way like that. Or you can just highlight the range. Now you can see it says the first one is required, while the rest are optional. To make this better, let's look at another function, VLOOKUP. So yeah, once you see your function, you can hit tab to autocomplete. It also opens a bracket for you. Now, but before we do that, it says looks for a value in the leftmost column of the table and returns a value in the same row from a column you choose, you wherever, we don't know what that is, so hit tab. Now yeah, just be natural, slow. Okay, so VLOOKUP says the lookup value is compulsory. Why is it in bold? Doesn't mean others are not compulsory or are not required. It's in bold because that is the next thing you're supposed to type in. Okay, so for example, if I do this and I hit a comma, you can see that the next one becomes bold. Okay, so that's just what that means. So the lookup value is required, table array required, column index number required, but the range lookup is not required. And as I said, you might not necessarily like the behavior always, all time, when you don't provide optional arguments. Sometimes you might be cool with it, you don't need them. Sometimes you need to provide yours. because you might not be okay with Excel default way or option of doing it for you. Okay, so that's something to take note of. So this gives us a good foundation about functions. Again, you know what they are? How do we use them? Majorly, you start with the equal to sign, then you type the function name, open a bracket, and then you pass in the argument. What are the arguments? The reference, the cells, the figures, the values you want to perform that function on. For example, if it's a sum, let's say we have 2, 3, 4, 5 here. I want to get a total of all the numbers. So I'll say sum, open a bracket. So these will be my arguments. These are the values I want to add up. I want to perform the function on. And I'll close the bracket. Right? So it's saying J2 to M2. Now hit enter and then it calculates them for me, just like that. Okay? And yes, this gives us a good foundation on functions. In the next videos, couple of videos, we'll now be diving into the functions. And one thing you should take away is the functions are categorized based on what they can do, based on the kind of operation. How do you see the categories? Where can you find them? Go to your formula tab. Now, the first section of ribbon where it says function library, you can see them. Financial functions, see them. It says add a financial function to your sheet, logical function, textual functions, the ones that can work on a text, right, to manipulate a text. We have the datetime function, we have the lookup function, we have the maths and trigonometric function, see statistical cube, etc., etc. So we'll be exploring a couple of them, important ones, in the next video, next couple of videos, right? So yes, this will be the end of this, okay? And do well to um, use the comment section effectively. Your feedbacks are important. Like the video, share with your friends, family, okay? Share with people around you who wants to learn, wants to know how to do this better as well, okay? Yeah, that's all. Basically all for this, and we'll see again in the next one. Yeah, by the way, I always mention if the video is too fast, use the playback speed. But yes, for some people, if you feel it's too slow, and none of these, I will advise you not to skip. The explanation can make you understand how, okay? And when you know how, you have a good foundation or a better knowledge, okay? So you might not want to go over it very fast, but regardless, if you feel you know you want it's too slow for you, just want to move fast, that's allowed as well. Probably have used it before, you have the understanding of all the basics, yeah, that's fine. You can use the playback speed as well to make it faster. 1.25, 1.5, 2.0, no, as fast as you want it. All right, so yes, this brings us to the end of this, giving us a good foundation on what functions are and how to write them. I'll see you in the next one.